So Nick, when I was talking to you one day, and I was going on about how much I love George Clinton and Parliament and Funkadelic, and you're like, "Oh yeah, my best friend plays keyboards for them," and I honestly thought, No, he doesn't. Like, there's no chance whatsoever. You're like, yeah, man. They're ever around, let me know. I'll see what I can do. And it's like, no way. The fact that you do is amazing to me.
So I know for the longest time you thought it wasn't true. You thought it was a figment of my imagination. I created this individual named Danny Bedrosian, lead keyboardist for the Parliament Funkadelics, George Clinton's band, and also Secret Army, another band that he plays in, and multiple other bands he's played in, and just one of the most talented musicians I personally think of all time, honestly. Classically trained in piano and so on and so on. I can go on endlessly. And, when you told me there's no way you grew up with Danny, look, I specifically poured out a little bit of liquor of whiskey into my cup tonight because I'm about to prove it to you. We're going old school, boys, tonight. This is where the freaking G Crew started. G Crew started in the basement of my house in the 90s. 1994, I'm taking you back. Pelham, New Hampshire, man. Danny, welcome to the G Crew, buddy. I'm happy to have you on here tonight. It's a pleasure to talk to you again.
Pleasure is all mine, fellas. Thank you so much, Nick. Thank you, all you guys. I feel like I'm already a member of the G Crew family. I love it.
You are.
Dude, do you remember, let's just take it way back, old school, how it all started. We went to middle school together, high school together.
Yep.
And then we were running track together.
That's true.
And we were like, fuck running 2 miles. Let's go to my house and play and jam out in the basement.
Yeah. and make it look like it was 6 miles. We'd come a different route, and we'd be like, whew, 6 miles today. Woo!
Totally. Dude, so one of the first bands, right, that we created, I guess, we were kind of just messing around, experimenting with music. I was really big into hip hop, rap, all that stuff. And I got introduced to funk because of you. I knew of it, but I didn't understand it. Do you know what I mean? Sure. I knew I was listening to what I was listening to in hip hop and stuff, but I really didn't know. I didn't know because it kind of goes over your head. It's on a different level, I feel, unless you can really hone in on that. And I remember when we were making hip hop tapes and stuff, and I'm about to show you something, it's a classic. I had to pull it out of my closet and I had to dust it off a little bit, but check this out. So Johnny, here's my proof. The proof is in the cassette, my friend.
Oh,
mixtape.
Wow.
Mixtape.
The mixtape. I'm going to show this camera right here. What up? Look at that. Danny, you remember any of those? Can you see some of
the
that?
new stuff? Yeah. Oh, always back. Yeah, I remember all that. The sick thing, this is the sick thing about it, is I could probably still recite all the lyrics to every one of them songs.
Yo, do you remember Full Effect? That was my favorite.
Yeah, that was like our hit.
It was. It really was. We performed, I think, I'm a G was a track. I'm a G.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Really, remember, I wrote lyrics in a class. I think it was social studies one day.
Why isn't that our theme song?
Exactly. Right, I know, exactly. Thank you.
I'll show you why. It's on a cassette tape.
God damn it. You can digitize that so easily.
I need to. I need to, man. I'm going to send it to you. I don't have a cassette tape player in my house, but I need to digitize it. I'm a G was a track I wrote in social studies class.
That's awesome.
And it was crazy because Danny looks over, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm writing I'm a G. That's how it all started. It all started that way.
Actually, and you know what too? You might not remember this, but the first time you showed me the lyrics was in the middle school, in the bathroom at the middle school. I was washing my hands, and you were like, hey, Danny, I want to show you this. I know you're a musician. I know you play. I want to show you these lyrics. They handed them to me. I'm washing my hands in the bathroom. Oh, okay, yeah. And I think that's how it really started, to be honest with you.
You're right. I totally forgot that part. Dude, so our first band was called what?
Dysfunctional.
Dysfunctional Family.
But with an FUNK instead of FUNC.
I like that.
You know.
So that's how far Danny and I go back. That's been our friendship. We've been best friends pretty much ever since. You know, we went our separate ways, kind of in a life journey. I always wanted to be a music producer when I was a kid. Like, I loved music. I had the turntables. I was a caddy for a bit, so I could get 4 15-inch subwoofers to put in my basement to rock out and create hip hop. I got a drum machine. Dude, I was really in it. I was in it all deep into the music scene, and I throw little parties in my house and stuff, and then basically, it was. I'll never forget this, Danny. I remember I threw a party. It was a Halloween party, right? Everyone was over jamming.
I got pictures from that.
Oh man, I wish you had them right now to pull those up. And
put them in the edit.
And what I did to my basement is I took that. What is it, the vinyl or whatever, the disco type floor. I had disco ball in the middle. I vinyled out my whole entire half of my floor.
No, it was dope down there. It was cool.
Yeah, it was like our little escape. And all we did is made music, man, all day long when we could. And I'll never forget Halloween party. Whole school is rocking out of my basement. And I had this like cellar door to the back, right, of the backyard to where the pool was and stuff. And I'm like, damn, where's Danny at? I'm mixing the tapes. Everyone's like, yeah, you know, I don't know what we were playing. We're playing some cool stuff. I got word that Danny was rolling through, right, to the party. It was packed in there. Danny's coming. I don't know how. Back then it wasn't like a text message. So maybe it was a pager beep or something.
Pony Express.
Yeah, man. I think it was word of mouth, to be honest with you. It was word of mouth.
Yeah, for sure.
One of our boys comes running. He's like, yeah, Danny's coming through. You know, get ready. I'm like, all right, shit. I get a tape mixed up. I'm ready to mix it in, right, to just drop the whole part because everyone's like, yeah, everyone's chilling, pretty good. You know, everyone's like feeling it. Everyone's grooving. I mix it in, and it was one of the funk songs, man.
Flashlight. I think it might be Flashlight.
I think it was Flashlight. Yeah, I dropped Flashlight in. And in comes Danny. The cellar doors whip open. The moonlight shines in. Danny comes in his freaking funk outfit, like just.
I was dressed like George Clinton for Halloween.
Wow!
Dude, comes in. Everyone was like, "Yeah, we got the funk.
Yeah,
everybody got." You know, everyone just jamming.
Yeah, that was awesome. Wow, you got a good memory. I forgot about that part about it. That's crazy.
This came to me right now. So I had to reminisce a little bit for a second, man.
No, that makes me so happy to think about those days.
Yeah, but you went on your path, dude. So tell us about your career and stuff. Just start from, you know, when we went off, you went to college. I went to Las Vegas. You went to and
went to UNH and then Florida after that. But you know, going back to when we were younger, you know, ever since I was 11, I said I want to be the keyboard player for Parliament Funkadelic when I grow up, you know, and then everybody would be kind of like, oh yeah, whatever, you know, it's stupid, you know. But I've been playing since I was 3. My whole family is piano players, so it's like everybody in my family plays. My parents were piano teachers for 50 years.
Wow.
Everybody plays, so it was a good ground, you know, for, you know, a good foundation for that. And P-Funk was my favorite band, so it was just, you know, my whole thing was, if you say you're going to do it, there's no other option. If you don't give any other option, you don't have any other option. So that's like the only way. And that's how I just was like that, like just straight on. And met George, first worked for George doing like artistic stuff, designed one of the bed sheets he wore at one of his concerts.
Damn.
And then dropped off some music. They liked it. Then I started working in the studio, still a teenager, started working in his studio. They'd fly me down to Florida. And he was always real cool about finish school. And then when I finished school, I moved to Tallahassee, not really knowing anything about Tallahassee. I thought Tallahassee was in Tennessee. I don't know what Tallahassee was. And I came down here, and in 9 months, I got the road job. And that was September of 2003. And I've been the keyboard player since then. And
amazing.
In about 5 or 6 months, I will be the longest tenured keyboard player in P-Funk history.
Wow.
Which is a pretty long history because the band's 65 years old.
Yeah.
Damn.
longest running band in American music history,
Dude.
the biggest discography of any band in music history. And there have been quite a few keyboard players, but I will have the longest tenure by the end of this year, which is as long as we're all here by then. And you know, it's been a real storied career. It's taken me on all 6 livable continents pretty much year round. You name an artist, I've probably had the honor and the opportunity to either work with, play with, be in the band where they opened for us or we opened for them, or, you know, played shows with them or recorded in the studio with them. My hip hop resume is ridiculous, and it's all because of George. I mean, it's all because of George. I could rattle off the names. It's just ridiculous. But then, you know, also in rock and in dance music and even stuff like country and folk music, and it's taken me places that I never knew existed and never thought that I would find myself in. You know, being a kid of humble means, you know, raised by musicians, just coming full circle, you know. Yeah, it was his dream come true, you know, really. And I'm still doing it. You know, George lives right up the street. We have barbecues, you know, we hang out, you know, it's cool. It's a great life. I don't regret it. I don't take it for granted at all.
Yeah,
and the way I first got introduced to George was, you know, always been an Ice Cube fan forever.
Yeah.
And then when Dr. Dre's A Chronic come out, my buddy's like, oh yeah, like he's sampling all this P-Funk stuff. And I didn't even know what sample meant, like in 1992.
Right.
You know, and so I went to the record store and I found Chocolate City.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just like, oh, who is this? Wow, this guy is amazing. And like next day I bought everything I could from the pre-iTunes where you can just search it up, you know. But yeah, you're right. Like every early 90s and so much hip hop is just sampled. And it's that West Coast sound that just is that era.
Yeah,
but,
and even a lot of East Coast stuff though too, like Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul, and you know, like Public Enemy, KRS-One. A lot of that stuff was all samples of P-Funk. And Ice Cube, actually, we did a music video with him. There's a song we did, "Ain't That Funkin' Kinda Hard on You," and we did the music. I played keys on it, of course, and then and got to be in the music video. And it was my first like big time music video, you know. And it's funny because each band member has a scene where like they pick a girl for each band member, you know. And the director, Video God, he's this brilliant director. He's directed like all the big hip hop videos today, like all the modern stuff. And you know, he's directing you while the song's playing. I got the keyboard and the girls all kind of grinding on me. He's like, "You're a good guy. You're a good boy gone bad." You know, it's just so funny. Like he's like describing this whole idea to you as you're doing. It's really funny. It's funny as hell. But that was a really cool experience, you know. And Ice Cube, we also got this honorary Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award from the Grammys, and Ice Cube came and performed with us at this kind of dedication.
That's so
thing.
cool.
It was really cool. Yeah.
Damn.
One badass thing that I saw you do, this started years ago. I think you started doing this, is playing the keyboard over your head and stuff during.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about that. Where'd that come from, man?
Well, you know, I used to always be like, not all keyboard players, but a lot of the keyboard players that you'd see in a lot of contemporary bands, I just always thought they were kind of pussies. And like, and I don't mean that like piano players are so badass. Like to me, piano players are badasses. But the keyboard players in a lot of these like pop bands or new wave bands, and not all of them. I'm not trying to, because I got a lot of friends who play keyboards in a lot of great pop bands, so I'm not hating on them. But just growing up as a kid, I remember looking at it and being like, ugh. Why aren't they doing more? Like, they do more. And there was a few people that really stood out. My mentor, Bernie Worrell, who's basically the original keyboard player for P-Funk, or at least the main guy that people think of. I studied under him. He's one of the baddest of all time. And he just, to me, it's just balls, you know, balls. And there was a few other guys like that, you know, but I just felt like there weren't a lot of people that had that thing. And I started getting the idea of like, let me whip this thing around. For a while I was like, I'd take it and slam it down on my other keyboard, and play one keyboard on top of the other keyboard. And so like the keyboard on top was actually pressing down on the keys on the bottom. So I'm soloing on the top, and then the stuff on the bottom was like all underneath it. So I was doing that for a while. And then like I also played in metal bands like way before, like in hardcore bands in Lawrence and Lowell and Andover. And Massachusetts, and you know, those guys, you just like destroy the keyboard. Like you buy some cheap piece of crap and just like break it. And it was just all these different ideas. I was like, what do I want to do? And then after a while, I started doing the thing. We play it over your head, play it behind your head, and just like tricks and things. Like it's just tricks. But once I started getting endorsed with Novation, and they make like a little keyboard, I was like, oh, I can do anything with it. I can flip it around. I can turn it around and play it backwards. I can put it on top of the other keyboard and it won't break the other keyboard. I can do all kinds of stuff. So I started using that, and it became sort of like a thing that, you know, that people like, oh, the keyboard player threw it over his head. It's, oh my God, what's he doing? You know? So it became this really wild thing that was kind of just, you know, fun, but it's like a good show thing. But also it's about, I wanted to make sure I was still playing though. Because there were some guitar players where they could play with their teeth, and then some of them are just going shang, 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 shang. You know, but some of them can actually do it, you know. So I wanted to still be doing it, you know. So I'll be playing some stuff up there. I'm not just going blah, 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 you know, because you can do that. But yeah, I wanted to keep the technique, but also be entertaining, because I feel like keyboard players are always in the shadows. And I was like, fuck that. I don't want to be in the shadows. I want to be up front and just hard with it and just like, you know, people be like, oh, that dude, okay, he's deep. You know, that's all. That's what I wanted for the reaction.
Dude, it was badass. I mean, it's all about stage presence, you know? And you're absolutely right, man. When that stage is filled, especially in that band. You call them the Funkadelic. You got like 80 people rolling deep in that band on that stage. Like, you have to stand out. They're the baddest mother effers up there on that stage. You got to stand out, man. Yeah. And you're kind of placed in the back there. When you first started, I saw you positioned in the back, and you're slowly through the years just right there in front. Yeah. You just fucking made your mark. Like, that's what I love about you, dude. But that's how you've always been since we were kids, man. You told me straight to my face. I go, dude, what are you going to be? I want to own a nightclub. I used to tell you, I want to own a nightclub. That's how I was when I was a kid. I wanted to own a nightclub. My senior project, I created this Millennium Dome. This was back in 1999 when I was graduating. And I made a Millennium Dome out of balsa wood. And I went and interviewed the guy who used to own the nightclub down in Boston, Massachusetts and stuff, one of the biggest ones there. And you know who he is. And basically, that's what I wanted to do. And you told me straight to my face, I go, what are you going to do, man, when you graduate? You go, I play for George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelics. I go, okay.
Nice.
Cool. You know, he stood by his word since we were teenagers, man. I'm not even joking to you. Since 15 years old. I remember rolling to high school parties with you, high school dances, middle school dances. Always George Clinton, the Parliament Funkadelics. Always. You introduced a whole new genre to me, you know. Man, you helped me craft my skills on the hip-hop scene and in the mixing scene, the music scene. It's so in my blood. It's implanted. And speaking of, your parents, your mom gave me, before I even knew you. That's right. When my sister and I were little kids. I forget how old, honestly. I think maybe, I don't know, 9, 10 years old, something. We took piano lessons from his parents.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Like the connections. Until I got kicked out of my private school and went to the public school.
Yeah, Nick was the kid that got kicked out of the Catholic school and like for being a bad kid. That's what I remember. And you know, we were all kind of like roughneck public school kids anyway. So like, if you were one of those kids that came from the Catholic school, you better be bad. Otherwise, you know, like, people pick on you. You know what I mean? So like, nobody was picking on Nick because he had like a reputation because he got in trouble at the private school.
No. First off, when I was leaving that when I was leaving that Catholic school, right? My girlfriend at the time, Cecile Benjamin. Remember Cecile?
She's
cool.
I know Cecile.
I ran into her recently. She's a cool girl, right? So I was dating her at the time, and I think someone else, and basically I was on the bus or something.
I think someone else.
Yo, I was on the bus at the time, right? And what happened was she goes, look, when you walk onto the schoolyard, right? When you get dropped off and you walk on the schoolyard, what's going to happen is I know all the kids because I ride the bus with all the kids who go to the public school. She goes, be prepared because there's a lot of kids that are going to jump you. That's what
she
she
was
told
older
me.
too. You had an older girlfriend.
Yeah. I was in 5th grade going into 6th grade, and I think they were in 8th grade or something like that. Mm-hmm. And she just told me. She told me like, there's this guy named Mike. You look for Mike. I didn't even know he lived near me at the time, but
my God.
Yeah, I just remember rolling onto the school campus, and I was ready. Like Taekwondo and all this stuff. I'm like, all right, first kid comes at me, I'm just gonna kick him in the face, you know. And I walked on the thing, you know, I was all like baggy clothes, and you know, I didn't know what the hell I was wearing because I'd been wearing like, you know, like uniforms and shit. So I was oh, this is cool. I can wear whatever I want. Yeah. My style changed quickly into like, and then I met you, man, and we hit it off, and you know, I didn't get jumped that day, and no one wanted to fight me, and whatever, it was over with. And I got into fights later, kind of punched some kid for being racist to one of our friends at the time, and knocked him out, and then basically everyone was cool and we were good, and then I started wearing crisscross colors, and that's where we started blending.
Yeah.
Dude, I love you, man. I miss you, bro. Like we're going down memory lane. This is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It's hilarious. It's bringing me back, though. You're telling me things that are still in my memory banks, but that I haven't thought about in so long. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yep. It's wild, man. Do you remember when I first got my license? Right.
You were one of the first ones.
Yeah. Well, second. I was not the oldest in the class, and I did not stay back.
No. But you were one of the first ones in our group of friends. You were one of the first ones in our group of friends to get your license.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's funny because like, you know, we've had this conversation before because we've always, and one thing I love about Nick, he's hustles, man. Like there's no one that hustles like Nick Groff, and I always envision him back in the day, like still having his beard, having a pager, like throwing parties. Like, of course, he wanted to open a club, you know?
Of course, he wanted to open a club.
But I love that, man. So this is fantastic.
And pitching his lyrics in the bathroom, like this is time. Like,
but that's the hustle right there, right? That's that hustle that we're talking about, too.
Exactly.
Even fucking back then, he's like, fucking look at this. I know you're washing your hands. Fucking look at this. You know what I mean? Like, I get it, man. That's it. That's that Groff hustle.
I'm a hustler, baby.
What's up, man?
Yeah, Nick had the Saab. You had the Saab.
Oh,
that's where I was going. That's where I was going with that. Yeah, I got my license. I got the hand-me-down Saab from my sister that was passed down the family generation. You know why that Saab was dope, right? Because what I did is after I got it, all of her college friends ripped the whole entire roof down.
I remember that.
And they were carving their initials and shit into the whatever that silicone crap is.
Yeah,
dude, I'd be driving on the street. Yeah, I'd be driving on the street with you. We'd be bumping some music, and all of a sudden I kind of look up, and that crap would fall in my eye, and I'd be blind and stuff driving. It's a piece of shit car, but it got us around. And the greatest part is I took a piece of crap car, right? And trust me, I loved every second of it. And I went off and I bought gold hubcaps.
Yes.
No joke.
Damn.
I got the gold hubcaps. I put those on. And after I got my license, I got those on there from Pep Boys, right? And in Methuen, Mass or something. And I'm driving down the street going to get my final license. And I just had my buddy who was making subwoofers build me a box, right? He built me a box. And I worked really hard to get the sub, you know, in there, and I bought a sub, and it
was nice.
Yeah, dude, it was banging, and got a new deck, right? I put a new cassette deck in there, and we were pumping some of our music we were making. That's funniest story was I was driving, the thing's blasting, boom, boom. I think I was playing some funk or some hip hop or something. I roll up to a stoplight, and this old lady pulls up next to me. No joke. She looks at me, she's yelling something to me. I don't hear what she's saying because the music's so loud. And I look over, and I turn it down. She's like, you were driving and your gold hubcap popped off the wheel and it was rolling down the street. I was like, damn it. That shit cost me $25. I think it was like $45. I was pissed because $45 was like a hell of a lot of money. Yeah, man. I went looking for it. I could not find it anywhere. I had 3 hubcaps, 3 gold hubcaps rolling on that stop.
That's too funny.
And the cell phone, didn't you still have the built-in cell phone in it?
Yeah. I had the it had one of those big Miami Vice blocks in the middle, I think. And we'd be pretending like we were on the phone a lot, like or like we were trying to pick up girls or something.
So ridiculous.
Hold on, baby. Hold on a second.
Right.
Yeah. Dude, so Danny, man, there's so many stories. So the great thing about Danny is he always had a vision. He had a vision of what he wanted to do, who he wanted to be, and where he wanted to go, But he was always his own individual person. It wasn't like, I'm going to go play under this person. You were always going to be somebody to remember, not just like, oh, I play for that band. There's a lot of musicians who play for people, and there's musicians who are somebody in that band. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Making your mark, so to speak.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And that's what I remember when you started flipping that keyboard over your head, doing some wild shit like that, and just, we were talking a bunch off and on. And I was out of the loop for a bit with you when I was making film, when I rolled down that path, making documentaries and stuff. And then it's just interesting to see where life is taking us, as we grow older, obviously. And man, what's your favorite genre besides the funk? What's your favorite genre growing up? Besides what you obviously.
Well, yeah, I mean, I listened to a lot of hip hop and R&B growing up, as you know, and then I think now probably classical or jazz. I mean, because I was classically trained, and it's like when you're a kid, it's like something you have to do. So you're not like, oh, I love this. You're kind of like, oh, I have to do this. But like now, I rotate between around 1,800 different classical pieces in my repertoire for when I play classical shows, and it's just something that it calms me, it relaxes me. I could be like having a nervous breakdown or going into shock or something. I sit in front of this piano, I play some classical, that's all over. Or like I could be pissed about something, any kind of issue, anything, and I sit behind this piano, and especially with classical music, once I play that, it's therapeutic for me, and so and that comes from the training, because I have the training. Doesn't mean I still don't, some days I'm like, okay, now I'm going to do 3 days on just one piece. And then some days I'll get through 100 pieces in one day's regimen. And I still maintain a pretty heavy regimen. I still practice between 2 and 6 hours every day. Yeah. And it's just important. It's important to keep up for the technique so I can keep getting better and better, because I do still see growth in myself, which is really I'm very thankful for. Because if once you've done everything, or you feel like you've done everything and seen everything, well, you're bored as hell. What are you going to do? What else are you going to do? But with classical music, there's always a new challenge. There's always a new aspect of one particular piece that you never really honed in on, And so it's just such a science and such a math to it, and it requires so much of your overall playing and being and technique and artistry. It's like you can never really get it all. This is why I liked P-Funk, because it's such a big discography. You can never really get it all, but you can get as much as you can and just keep building. So it's I was always attracted to things that were super epic, big discographies, big bands, big music, lots of music, big quantity, and just being challenged by it and taking it head on, So probably classical, and I love jazz, Those two things are a good challenge, and also just they center me. They center my soul when I'm playing,
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Just how I remember chilling at your house when we were working on the album, and how many instruments you can pretty much pick up and just play. I mean, it's just really cool. Another thing that blows my mind away is I know when I was traveling a ton, I'm like, oh, I travel a lot and blah, 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 and oh, I'm never home. And then I talk to you and you're like, yeah, man, tell these dudes how much you actually travel out of the year.
So in 2018 was probably my biggest year for travel, which is interesting because I've been doing this since 2003. So, you'd think that Mr. Clinton, as he gets older, that he would do less, but it's not the case. And he's a beast. But in 2018, I was, between P-Funk and other bands, I was on the road about 315 days.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, I think on the average, any given year is going to be between 200 and 300 days on any given year.
That's pretty impressive, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it takes a very specific type of individual.
Absolutely.
So from a musician standpoint, before I did all this ghost stuff, I was a lead guitar player, and I played with a band out in Nashville, and we were on the road for around 8 to 10 years, somewhere around in there. And I just got so tired of that grind. Sunday afternoons at a motel far away from anyone was just so depressing. Like, how have you kept that spark for so long?
It's interesting because different places, where it's really depressing for me, Johnny, a lot of times is when I'm on the plane on a 16-hour flight and it's pitch black, and I'm just that's when I'd be thinking about, God, I miss my kid, or I feel like I'm taking life for granted on the ground, or something stupid like that. I don't know what that is. That's where I get the most depressed. I don't know why, but I like I said about it, I think it takes, just a certain type. I think that, but even the amount of years that you were out on the road, 8 to 10 years, that's a super long time. It's a super long time to be out there. And I mean, you obviously have the whatever that extra bone is, or whatever it is that makes you be able to do it. I think that it's very easy, however, for anybody to just be okay, it's enough. I think if I wasn't in my absolute favorite band of all time, even if it was another big band, or maybe even a even more famous band, or I think I might not be able to have done it for as long. I mean, granted, the accommodations are pretty plush. I mean, it's not super plush all the time, but I mean, we have nice hotels. The flights are okay. It's nothing bad. We have tour buses and so on and so forth. And I think that can help. But the thing that throws most people off the most is that the only thing consistent is that there's no consistency, as far as what your schedule is. And a 9-to-5er, or even somebody who works in another aspect of the entertainment business can't understand, okay, today I got to get up at 3 a.m. and maybe work an 18-hour day. And then tomorrow we're going to go to bed at 4 now. And then tomorrow I got to get up at 10, and then the next day I don't have anything to do until 6 p.m. And then the day after that, I have no obligations till midnight. And it's just that can blow your mind. Can just absolutely just take you out. But I also think that, when I first started in the band, the extracurricular activities were a much more common occurrence. Basically when I first joined the band, everybody was still getting high. Not everybody, but most of us were still getting high, and I'm not talking about weed, you know what I mean? And so at a certain point, everybody kind of had their own realization for different reasons. Everybody has their own reasons, but it all kind of went by the wayside, including with the big guy. And I think that once that happened, the spirit of longevity, I think, became even more elastic. It was just sky's the limit now. We can do whatever. Because if you look at a picture of us 15 years ago, almost every one of us looks older in that picture than we do now. Yeah. I know I'm in way better shape in 2020 than I was in 2000. You know what I mean? Way better. And I can say the same thing for George, like 1,000%. So that helps. That definitely helps. And not to say that's everybody's problem, but I think that in bands, everybody has their own reasons for being there, just like everybody has their own reasons for leaving when they need to. Mm-hmm. And I never hold blame or place blame on a person when their time to leave is there, because you can't get inside that person's head. You can never possibly understand the problems and the issues that person has to deal with at home or on the road, because they're their own person. And secondly, you never know when they may come back. They'll probably be back in some extremity, so that's how I kind of look at it.
Some of the worst times were, I'd fly back home on a Tuesday night and I'd get a hold of my buddies. I was like, man, I'm back in town. Let's just go to the bar. We're going to party all night. And they're all like, we got jobs.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Like, I sit here and drink by myself.
I a lot of times I liken it to this is the strangest allegory, but you guys ever seen like Lord of the Rings, that crap?
Oh yeah.
So like Return of the King, at the end of Return of the King, the hobbits, they finally return to the Shire or whatever, and they're like, they've been on this like crazy ass adventure. There's nothing that will ever equal this. And they're all sitting in the pub and they're just kind of like looking at each other like with this little smile, like, you guys, we get it, but there's going to be a void for the rest of our lives, because there's no explaining. Like, a lot of band members that when they talk about going home to visit family, and sometimes, some of the younger guys be bitter because they want to be like, I just did this with this person. We just did this, like huge things, like big things. And Aunt Gladys wants to tell you about how the lawnmower is broken, and that's a 30-minute conversation about the lawnmower, and it's like, it's not about you. I think eventually you have to get over that. Like, it's about the other person, and you're an entertainer for a reason. It's not about me. And a lot of those people fall by the wayside quicker because they're so caught up in the ego. They can't get over the fact that nobody understands. Oh my God. You have to actually focus in on, what is that person thinking? What makes them tick? And that'll help you in your performance. At least that's how it is for me,
That's pretty good advice.
What made you want to get healthy again, man? I remember when, we all go through our dark times. Yeah. And I remember I think we were talking one time and you just said, man, I'm so out of shape. I feel like shit. Yeah. All that stuff. And what made you want to kind of flip your life around and just say, you know what, enough of this, go clean on some stuff and so on?
Well, like, for me, it was like a few different moments, but I'm like this stubborn Capricorn bastard that, like, for me, it has to be a life or death situation. It has to come. I was hospitalized several times, and and so the first series of times it was like, okay, and then like another year went by and I was like, okay, I'm gonna die if I don't, so I had to stop. And that was when I quit messing around with that, and cigarettes too, all at the same time. I was just like, gotta get out of it. And then like, I just recently had a new health kick. I've been sober for forever, but I recently had a new health kick where just drinking, eating late, recently went through a divorce, changes in my lifestyle, etc., and gained some weight and just wasn't feeling fantastic. And then went into anaphylactic shock a couple times, went to the ER a few times, most recently last Monday, and that was crazy. But in the midst of all that, I started running, losing weight, figuring out what was wrong, going to the allergist and changing my diet. And, I lost like 40, 45 pounds in the past, I don't know, couple months.
Wow.
So that's my newest kind of revelation. And I wasn't even, the newest kind of health kick didn't really have anything to do with drugs or substance, really. It just had to do with, okay, I'm going to die if I don't figure out how to change this course. And so it's been really helpful to me,
Man, that's amazing. No, I'm so proud of you because it's so hard to be on the road in week after week and do the grind. And, it looks, a lot of people see from the crowd or see from the TV screens or whatever it is, wherever they are in their life, and everybody has something that they have to deal with. It might not be substance. It could be something completely different off the rails. It could be work. It could be financials, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But the problem is you're never in anybody's shoes. You're absolutely right. That was the best thing you could have ever said. No ego. We're not in anyone's shoes. We're not above anyone. We're just artists. We love what we do. We have a passion for it. And we're going on our journey. We're all on our life journey. We talk about this shit a lot on here.
I'm sure.
And it's just like, man, I love hearing from people like yourself, that we can all kind of relate to and just say, man, you're a great musician. You're a talented artist. You're one of the smartest dudes I know. IQ is just way up there.
Oh, thank you.
And it's just like, it's always an interesting conversation, but I always say the strong minds survive, man.
Yeah.
The longest.
Yeah.
In bands, TV, film, whatever it is, whatever industry, even work, simple work, waking up 9 to 5 grinding, even the blue collar working or whatever it is, so I give you mad props for stepping up in your life and saying, hey, I want to make a difference and impact my lifestyle in a positive, because that's a hard thing to do. It's a really hard thing to do.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate it.
So, it's funny thinking back. Just one other memory that came to my mind is Battle of the Bands.
Oh, nice!
I'm still pissed you beat me in Battle of the Bands. What year was that? Was that 99? Right?
That was
high school.
98.
Was it 98? So somebody has this VHS tape somewhere because
my parents have it. I know that.
Listen, I've been trying to get that tape forever. Nice. Because please ask them because so I was in a band called Rancor. Remember that? Yeah. And you were in, what was your band called at that time?
The Fee Punk Experience.
Dude, it was epic. The whole high school was packed. The gymnasium was packed. I remember coming on. I think I walked out there. I was like, all right, I'm going out Rebel. And I think last minute, I was talking to one of my my friends. I'm like, hey, give me your jacket or something like that. He had like this big, huge, puffy jacket with a hood. And I just threw the hood on. And I straight came out /gangster /rock / like crazy heavy metal. And that's what we were. We were like a combination between rock, heavy, and hip hop. It was crazy. And I think we were like number 2. Well, we came in third, but the reason why we came in third is because a bunch of kids made like signs in wood class or something. And I guess one of the signs, the girls or whatever was holding it. It hit the principal right in the balls, so he got mad about it when he was in the crowd, and people were getting too crazy in the crowd because we were getting everyone rowdy. So he's like, guys want to be second, but I'm putting you third because people are getting hurt.
That's so funny.
But you guys deserve to win. I mean, when I saw Danny come out with his band, holy shit, I'm like, man, on a different level.
I came out on a radio flyer wagon.
Yes.
With a bed sheet and a fedora and a cane and big sunglasses.
That's awesome.
And I think we did Get Up, Get Into It, Get Involved by James Brown. I think that's what we opened with.
Yeah, it was amazing. But,
was so
dude,
bad.
the mix sounded so, like, it was Battle of the Bands, but your sound sounded great.
Oh,
like, the mix was good. Like, but that's the difference between, like, what we were doing. We were just straight up just killing it, and it was just all over the place, and you were just like articulate on like musical notes and the mix. You probably spoke to the freaking mixer back you're like, yo, mix it at this level, whatever, because you knew the keys, you knew the notes, that's what you were great at. Always hitting that stuff. Sounded amazing.
Oh, thank you,
man. We got to get that VHS tape.
I can get it for you.
I can
get it
please.
for you. Yeah. Please. Well, I have a story about you to share with the fellas.
Yes,
man. Let's do that.
So, if it's not me getting suspended in senior. Okay.
Cool. It's before that, but not too long before that. It might be like a year before that.
Yeah.
I was working at this piece of shit restaurant, and me and Eric Doyle and somebody else. We're just getting off of work, And for some reason, I didn't have I just crashed my car. I crashed my car, and you picked us up from work, and you were going to drop us all off. But instead of dropping us off, you made us go with you to this house that you had heard was haunted.
Oh, yeah. In Drake, Massachusetts.
Drake. It was all boarded up. It was all boarded up. It was like condemned building. It was probably like full of asbestos or something. and you were like, listen, guys, I'd heard all these things about it's haunted, or maybe there's some people in there we can find out. I'm like, why are we doing this? What? We're doing what? And we got in, we came up to the property, and the rest of us was scared. Nick was there for. He was gone. He just wanted, he didn't even need us, really. He really didn't. But he wanted somebody else to be there just to be, I think, witness.
It was kind of a bad. I don't know if it was bad area, but I didn't know who was going to jump out or whatever.
Oh, I don't even think that's why you wanted us there. I think you just wanted us there as witnesses to be like, "Yo, Nick found this thing. It was incredible." You know what I mean? I felt like that's more what it was. He was in front. We were just kind of like, Eric Doyle was like, I just want to go home, and something happened and something creaked and we all ran, we were like, but that story, it didn't really, I was just like, well, that's Nick, Nick is adventurous. He's always got a new idea. To me, Nick was always an idea man. Great ideas. You can't beat his ideas. He always got good ideas. And ever since he was little, ever since 6th, 7th grade. And to me, that was just, I just chalked it up to that. Oh, it's just it's a Nick idea. It's just but later, as soon as I saw what you were doing afterwards, after college and after you were in film and all that, and you started doing television, I was like, son of a bitch, this. And it took me a minute too, and I was sitting there, I was like, you know what? He took me on one of these. This is I forgot and got back to it. Was oh, and it all made so much sense to me. But it was blowing.
That's
my
amazing.
mind. Yeah,
that is pretty freaking sweet.
I remember that. So they tore that house down out there in Drake. I drove by it a couple years ago. Yeah. There's a Dunkin' Donuts or something in that area now, and it's some property or something like that.
Everything that gets torn down where we're from just gets turned into a Dunkin' Donut.
I got to say, Nick hasn't changed at all because
not at all. Yeah,
a few years ago, I was doing a thing with him in Ohio, and the particular block in this city in Ohio they called Murder City.
Uh-huh.
And we're in a legit crack house.
Yeah.
With the cop told me, if you go in there and get hurt, I cannot go in there because you're not supposed to be in there.
Right.
So we go in there, and there's obviously somebody upstairs, and I'm looking down. There's needles on the floor. I'm like,
oh wow.
Oh yeah.
And so there's obviously somebody upstairs. And Nick's like, dude, go upstairs. I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea. He's like, it'll look good on film. It'll be awesome.
Do it for the shot. Do it for the shot.
I think there was somebody in that house, actually. There really was somebody in that house, just hiding out and stuff. Yeah, that was a terrible, terrible neighborhood.
Damn.
Yeah.
Man, I thought at first you were talking about that that place we went to in Ohio. It was one of my Nick Ruff tours, and you came out, I think, for it. And we were strolling into that kind of really dive karaoke bar.
Yes, we
were the whitest dudes walking in. Remember that? Yeah. And I wanted to sing "Nothing But a G" thing up there. And I thought you were talking about that karaoke dive bar. I thought we murdered
we walk into this place and everybody's getting frisked, and I'm like, this is not a good idea. So we walk in, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to karaoke Minnie the Moocher at Callaway. And either we're going to be cool or I'm going to die. One of the two. We had an awesome time. We had a great time, Nick.
Man.
Yeah. We brought John Tenney was there.
Yeah.
We had him singing.
Nice.
Oh man, it was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah, man. I mean, I think that's the thing. We all have these cool memories to talk about. Some not so pleasant.
And it all involves Nick getting us into these situations.
Once you're in the G Crew, you can't ever leave.
That's right.
That's it. That's it.
There's no retiring from the gym.
That's right.
You don't retire.
You don't retire. Oh,
They just pull you back in.
I have a special set of skills.
Right.
Oh man, good times, man. So many memories. Yeah. What are some other ones I was thinking of? Oh, oh man, do you remember that little house you guys were playing in? So Danny had this cool little band, and it was a bunch of buddies I went to school with and stuff. And I came back from college one year. I think this was 2001.
Okay. Yeah.
And I just got my camera, and it was really funny because I started videotaping everything. I was videotaping you guys like playing, and the best part is you guys were playing in the kitchen, and your neighbors hated it.
Yeah.
Right? Tell us the name of the band and what you guys are doing there.
Was that Dr. Sloptopus? Yeah, Dr. Sloptopus. Yeah, it was crazy. You talk about not having your head screwed on correctly. That was definitely not screwed on correctly time of my life. But yeah, we practiced in the kitchen, in like 100-degree kitchen. Like it was always 100 degrees in there, just always. And then the neighbors hated it. And Nick was you were all about film at that time. You filmed everything. Our first concert got broke up by the cops. Did you go to that with the cops?
I don't remember. I just was filming everybody playing in the kitchen. I would put together these music videos, and then I was filming all the dudes that were hanging out the house. I mean, it got pretty bad at that house, but I was filming everything. Dr. Slop the Push, the band. I was filming like all the tracks. I still have all the mini DV tapes, and dudes playing. The dudes would roll up on their Kawasaki's or their Ninja bikes and stuff, like coming full blast down the road, 60 miles an hour, and just Indos, just sliding in and stuff. And I'd be filming these low angle shots. I'm like, this is awesome.
I was not riding on the motorcycles. I was too scared about what would happen to my precious hands.
Oh, they were great. Not you, but I mean that's kind of how rowdy it got there.
Oh no, they were rowdy. They were definitely rowdy over there.
Yeah, I mean, man, we used to film crazy stuff. Like I used to follow him into Wendy's, and you'd be playing all these different characters and stuff like that. We roll through the drive-thru saying the craziest stuff.
It was like the one where I'd pretend to be mad at the neighbor.
That was the funniest.
I see you over there, and like it'd be like this whole character that was just like always yelling at you prick bastard cross.
That was it. Dude, he was the funniest. I got a great story to talk about how it all started. So when we were in high school, we would film. We were allowed to film during the PTV school news.
Oh wow, okay.
So we had a little town studio, and what I would do is I would take control of that studio, right? So I was like, man, I'm going to hype this. I'm going to make this fun for all the kids in the school to watch in the morning. We're going to hype this up.
Preface it first, though, that the class originated in the school.
Yeah.
But that because I took this class like every year because I was such a fuck off that I would take, I'm going to take TV broadcasting every year and advanced communications and like art, I took all the like elective-y kind of like, I mean, not to say that they're not important, but you know what I mean? Those are the classes I would take. And we got in so much trouble doing the news on the air from the school that they canceled the class from being in school, and they moved it over to the TV studio.
Holy
and they
shit.
cut the class down from 20 kids to only 4 kids. So they let 4 kids go to the TV studio one semester, like, every day for each semester. So it was me and Nick and 2 other kids.
I convinced them. I had to convince them a lot.
Yeah. And we would go, and I mean, you go to this other place instead of the school for first period. So.
and pretty much how we got kicked up. So we got kicked off there, and they stopped it because there was this one teacher who came in and just, I don't know what her deal is. She just had it out for us. I think for me specifically, but
2 of us were on there visibly high every morning. So there was that part.
Well, Well, basically, I had this conceptual idea, right? I'm like, Danny comes in, and he's like, "Fuck, what am I doing? What am I doing today?" Like that. I think you came in just saying that exact words, and I go, "All right, guys, listen, I got this cool idea. I thought about it long and hard, and I was so excited about it. I go, this is gonna get them all freaking panties up in a bunch." So I'm like, Danny, sit down there. I'm gonna have the cameras coming like this, and I'm directing this whole thing happening, right? I'm like, Danny, we're gonna create this new thing because Danny back in the day, he had kind of this fro. Yeah. He was huge into Kramer from Seinfeld. Dude, he would do the best Kramer.
But it wasn't even. Yeah, I did. But it wasn't even like Kramer's hair because I couldn't do it straight up. I had this like Armenian fro that was just like round and like a mushroom.
It was badass. It was badass. So I said, "All right, dude. Here's what we're gonna do." I go, we're gonna call this fro weather. Fro weather. Remember this shit, dude?
Yeah, and I was like the meteorologist. And, this is all Nick's idea.
I was such a jackass wise guy. You know, I just wanted to get under people's skin who was just giving us problems because we just wanted to have fun and do our thing. And we were having fun, but I'm like, how can we push the buttons without not being a complete dick? You know, like we have to be witty about our stuff. So I said, here's what we're going to do, fro weather. So I had this graphic come up, said fro weather. And it was just stupid, generic. Like the one you punch in is like fro weather. And then it comes in on Danny, and Danny's sitting in this TV broadcasting, just ugly light, just flat, you know, like colors and stuff. And he's sitting there and he's like, well, today, I forget how you would do it. But
every day would be some dumb thing. But the other funny thing about it was, like, we didn't have a BMI license. And we might have had like a limited ASCAP license, but we had.
That's what we did. Yeah.
DeWolf. Do you remember DeWolf?
Yeah, I do. Holy shit, man.
And DeWolf was like this publishing. It was like the most generic music for publishing.
Yeah.
It's like the music you'll hear on like Tim and Eric and stuff like that. Like really like generic on purpose kind of. And we would just go through this library of DeWolf music. I mean, like hundreds of CDs.
Yeah.
And it was so strange, the things that would be on these DeWolf CDs. I remember like looking at one and it's like number 56, Orgy.
Yeah.
Orgy. You just listen to people, oh, and then number 57 was called Red Indian. And I'm like, what? And it was Indians having an orgy. I was like, this is the most. Excuse me. I mean, like, this was on the CD. I didn't make this up. You know what I mean?
Oh man.
And then like the one that Nick chose for the Fro Weather song was Urdu dance music, and Urdu is like one of the languages in like the northern part of India.
Oh wow.
And they do this thing where they repeat the name of God like and they do this like but it was set to a dance track.
Yeah.
I mean, DeWolf had everything, but it was the weirdest fucking selection of audio you've ever had in your life. Like, I mean, and it was literally just like 100 CDs.
Oh, I was like, roll that.
And and they'd have me spin around in those office chairs.
Yeah.
Like the first 2 minutes of Fro Weather is just me going to dance music.
And all this would be broadcasted in the room.
School are watching this from the home room, just looking up in the little TV like,
what the fuck?
Hey. And we, I'm just gonna say we went to a shit school. You know, it was unaccredited.
Yeah,
it was garbage. You know, and so like the kids, you know, some of the kids they're in there high, they're dying laughing because they're like, this is insane. Look what the guys have done this time. You know, some of the teachers thought it was funny. A lot of them were like, what is this? This is inappropriate. This is wrong or whatever.
So the kicker on all that is that Danny set it up perfectly and how I was going to get under this lady's, like, because she kept warning us every day we go to class afterwards. She's like, listen, I think, you know, you guys should really bring it down and you should be more intellectual on how you're describing the weather. So I said, cool, I'll do that. That's what I told her straight up. So the next day I come in and I'm just like, you know, fuck this shit, man. So I said, Danny, and Danny does all that stuff. Danny's being Danny. He's great. He's making me laugh and I'm filming it. I'm like, Danny, but here's what you're going to do. This day you're not going to say what the weather is like we usually do. You're not going to give like a whole, like, okay, it's 76 degrees, you know, like they want you to do.
Yeah.
I go, Danny, I knew what the weather was outside, right? I drove in my car. I got out of my car. I went inside. I knew what it was like. So I go, Danny, at this point, at a certain time when the music stops and you stop spinning, you're going to get up. The cameras are going to follow you. This is the first time we did it. We're going to take the cameras, follow you outside and look outside, and you're going to tell us what the weather is like. And I go, all you're going to say, and this is what happened. We walk outside. I'm following him with the camera. He looks up in the sky and goes, huh, it's sunny out today. Point the camera up. It's sunny. That was it.
Wow.
She hated that. Hated that. What are we doing wrong? I thought it was hilarious.
That was the first and last year that they allowed kids to go to the TV studio.
They cut us.
Record. And I think the class was cut after that anyway, in general.
It was.
Cut. Yeah.
Man.
Oh, I love that story. I will never forget that.
Oh, man.
I just talked to Swack the other day.
Yeah. How's he doing?
Good. Yeah, he's doing good.
He was one of our friends that did TV production.
Yeah, he was one of the 4 in the class.
Yeah, Swicky.
Yeah.
I love him, man. Yeah, I think he National Guard, right? He just had to go back out, I think, because of all the crazy shit that's going on in the world.
Yeah.
Wow.
In fact, like I've been doing this request zone thing where it's like, because basically in my little promo I was like, because basically concerts are over. Concerts ain't happening ever again. So us musicians, we're out of work. So I've decided to create this request zone thing, and people email me or whatever. They make a donation into my PayPal or Cash App or whatever, and then I send them a personalized whatever the song is they requesting, any song they want. A lot of people ask for like really rare, obscure P-Funk stuff because that's kind of my forte. But then a lot of people ask for like classical. I mean, I've gotten some of the most interesting requests in this past. I've only been doing it for 3 days, and Swack's sister, because he's got "What Doesn't Kill You Make You Stronger" tattooed across his chest, and his family used to joke him like, that's a Kelly Clarkson song, right? They had me learn that and send it to him.
Oh wow!
And he loved it. It was really cool. It was very, very cool.
That's badass.
Oh man, I got a great story with him. If he listens to this one time and you talk to him, tell him about this story. So when we were really young, right?
Yeah.
So I used to go over his house. My parents and his parents were friends, and I used to go. They used to watch me, I guess, when my parents were working or something. I remember when he had a boombox, like an old LL Cool J big boombox. You remember that boombox he had?
Yeah.
All right. So I remember when Naughty by Nature came out, OPP, right? First time I was chilling with him on his little street there where he lived.
Yeah, he was right down the street from me.
Yeah, so right across the street were these 2 girls swimming in their swimming pool, and I was like, man, Swack, let's impress this right now. So I took the boombox, put it over my shoulder, and I was playing OPP. Walking down the street with Swicky, man. We were playing that. He'll probably remember that shit.
Man.
I was like, how you like other people's property? Man, that was us. We haven't changed, and I think that's the cool thing about like you, man. Honestly, and this is why we've been friends for over decades. Is we're both, I think, very humbled, and we know where we came from and our roots. And we always go back to that place, regardless of whatever stardom or fame or whatever it's been, financials. It doesn't really make a difference because at the end of the day, it's all about the story and it's about the journey, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's like a lot of times it comes full circle. This is something that I've learned more as I've gotten older. Like, I think a lot of my 20s and like my early 30s was like the furthest I've ever been from the kid I was.
Yeah.
And then somewhere along the way, I turned back into the kid. Like, now I'm that kid again. Like, I was explaining to my parents one day, I'm like, I'm actually more the kid you raised now than I was the past 15, 20 years, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? There's something and maybe it comes from having a kid. Because then you have this kid that's like this version of you, and you see you in them, and it's like blowing your mind, and you're like, oh, yeah, I forgot. That's me. That's what I do. And not on purpose, just by sort of natural design, you revert back. You know what I mean? It's pretty crazy.
It totally makes sense, though, man.
Yeah,
it totally makes sense.
I've gotten back into pissing myself. You know what I mean?
Amen.
It's a wicked pisser.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh
dude.
shit.
Yeah, I stopped climbing in mine shafts. When I had my daughters. When I was crazy when I used to do ghost adventures. I'd go. Everyone was like, "Don't go in the mine shaft." Blah blah blah. It's haunted. This and that. I was resorting back to childhood, going up to the burnt house and whatnot. And I was like, "Cool, I'll go in there." But I was always smart about it, like in the sense of have a way knowing that you can possibly, if there is a 50-50 chance, climbing the side of a mountain to get to a plane crash on Ghost Adventures, or climbing into a mine shaft going 300 feet below the earth, by yourself, me and another guy. Damn. And that was it. Like if anything happened, that was it. You know, it's super scary. And we were crawling deep and going down into the different labyrinth of shafts and stuff like that. It was hard to like climb back up and get over and jump over like, little collapse areas and stuff. But I think when I had kids, it's interesting because they made me more grounded, in a sense of maybe I should slow down a little bit, not roll the dice every time and step up to the platform and try to leap and see what happens, Yeah,
no, definitely. And it's funny because we used to watch the show on the bus while we'd be like riding across the country. Yeah. And Lige Curry, who's the bass player for P-Funk, he's been the bass player for P-Funk for like the past 40 years. Brilliant bassist. And he said, man, Nick is always the one like who has to like sleep in the coffin, lay in like the tightest, most horrifying space. Why is it always Nick that's like, because that's Nick.
Yeah.
Because he's willing and able. That's what. And because it was probably his idea in the first place. Hey, it'd be really cool if we did this. I can just see him saying it. You know what I mean? Like,
Still does. Still does.
When this G crew, as this G crew climbs, and the more people that is following this right now, I mean, we've all been talking about this. We so want to go on tour, get our own G crew bus, travel city to city. Just do this.
Yeah, that's
fun. Do this with crowds. Do this at like bars, or like come down to where you're at with George or whatever, and just chill with you guys and just talk. Yeah. I mean, this is what I feel is. As human beings and everything that's going on in the world today, we're forgetting to be human, man. We're forgetting to communicate. It's like like Chad was talking about this, Johnny and Josh, you guys were all talking about this, the cell phones, and we're looking at things and we're forgetting to like communicate with each other and gain knowledge and information and learn from one another. It's what it's missing right now.
I think that right now, as all this mayhem is going on, I think the communication is coming back because I think people are desperate for contact.
Yeah.
And I think they're desperate for, because I have a lot of friends all over the world, and now more than ever, people are like, Danny, what's up? I'm like, not much. How you doing? I just wanted to talk. Oh, okay. We ain't talked in a couple years. I was okay. Yeah, but let's just talk. Okay, yeah, fine. And like, if I had $1 for every time somebody been doing that to me since all this started, I think it is. I mean, as terrible as everything is that's going on, like it's kind of returning us to what you were saying, that communication, even though we can't be like in the same place, our minds are in the same place. Like, and the other weird thing about this is like, it's so like, I studied history in school. Like this is so unprecedented. Like the Black Plague, Spanish flu, nothing, World War II, nothing affected the whole entire world.
Not like this.
The whole entire. This is the first time in any human being's existence since they were running from saber-toothed tigers or whatever, and there was like 50 only. That humans were all in the dire strait or whatever, same boat together. Yeah. It's the only time ever, and it's really unprecedented. It's beyond unprecedented.
I think though that's honestly like what you're suggesting though. That's what's ultimately going to bring us all back together, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so too. I think it already has in some ways.
Yeah,
bringing back the humanity.
Exactly, bro. Yes.
Yeah. And that's why we started the G Crew. I mean, this is the main purpose we set out to do. So it'd be awesome, man. I'm just dying laughing inside right now when you said saber-tooth tiger just chasing me. Because I don't know why I'm so vivid. My mind is hyper, and I just pictured you and I and like little leaves covering our crotches. Nothing else, just running, going, like speaking to each other in the only language you and I know how to communicate with. because there's nothing else.
Shit.
There's nothing else, and we have this big ass saber tooth just chasing us.
There was a time when escaping from predators was all humans really, and there was only a few of them, and there was like one tribe, and it was just like, don't get mauled by the tiger. It was pretty good.
It's just don't fuck this up.
Dude, I could talk to you for hours, honestly, hours about everything. But really quick, tell us a little story about Russia. You were talking about Russia before you came on.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. So, like, amongst all my crazy travel, I've been to Russia a few times, and actually have a lot of fans in Russia. We played Moscow several times, but we only played St. Petersburg once. And the time we did was on the express invitation of Vladimir Putin. Now, this is way before the Trump and all of that nonsense. And, today George would have never – because we've been invited back several times, and George won't go because of the political way it is. But at the time, this was like 2013 or 14, I think. And Vladimir Putin had like this big awards show. It's like, I don't know if it's like the Grammys and the Oscars and everything kind of rolled up into one. On his TV, he has his own TV station, like the government TV station. And it's called First Channel. It's and not Channel 1, First Channel. And we were invited. There were 3 bands that were picked, that Putin picked, I guess, that from America, and it was us, Duran Duran, and the Village People.
Amazing.
So crazy.
And
it's pretty eclectic, though, right?
It's very eclectic. Yeah, very strange. And it's the only lip syncing gig that I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
And it's definitely the only lip syncing gig that P-Funk has ever done, ever, that I can think of. Other than like a music video or something, And we were on diplomatic visas, which is very rare. Usually it's a tourist visa or entertainment visa, usually. And we were on diplomatic visas. We were staying across the street from the military intelligence building of St. Petersburg. And, Putin's an ex-KGB man. I mean, this was deep. You know what I mean?
Right.
And,
for real.
And we played the big event. It was like the Russian military male choir played before us.
Wow.
So like, like that. And then us, and then we played this ball, like this kind of gala afterwards for all the kind of big wigs. And then my band, Secret Army, played because I have like a huge following in Russia. And it was crazy. And I was saying before about like strange places where it's like you wouldn't think it was okay to puff. And we're like puffing like across the street from the military intelligence building in St. Petersburg, Russia, where like anybody else, like especially Russians, if they were doing, they'd be arrested, like beaten on the spot.
Yeah, dude.
And like a similar thing happened when we played in China. It was just really surprising sometimes when it's like, oh, okay, But then there are some places where we just okay, no, this is not the place to do this.
This is not the place.
You know what I mean? But it was a really interesting experience because it was so the president wants you and they had like a government liaison that would come and take care of us. It's very interesting. And I don't know why this is not exactly connected, but I'm thinking about another kind of fascinating time internationally was the first time we played Chile, Santiago, and we were playing at this huge, like, underground, like, it was like a warehouse, really big warehouse, though, because it was, like, indoors, and there was still, like, several thousand people. And it was all college students, and something political had just gone down where, like, there was a students' protest, and a number of the students were beaten. It's kind of like what happened at Kent State in the 60s.
Yeah.
Where, like, the police killed some of the kids. So it was, like, a lot of tension. And we're playing the show, and we're on this really high stage, and all of a sudden, there's this big commotion in the front of the house, like way at the very end of where the crowd is, furthest from us. And out the corner of my eye, I see from the side, military police coming in through the side.
What?
They climb the stairs, and next thing I know, I feel a machine gun right up against my back.
What the
Wow.
hell?
We're playing. It's a show.
You're doing your fucking job, and they got a fucking machine gun on you.
That's crazy.
Damn. In Chile, and I mean, it's bad enough you're in like another country too. You know,
yeah.
And but CNN was there, so they're filming us, and the students were not having it. They were tripping because they were like, because one by one, each instrument was like falling out. Like I stopped, somebody else stopped, somebody else, you know. And then finally the drummer stopped. And then George just turned around and he looked at the police. He's like, "What's up, fellas?" You know? And we were like, we didn't know what the deal was because we really hadn't done anything. We weren't doing anything deep other than playing the concert.
Yeah.
But there was some issue with the club and with the police. We didn't really ever get into it. But students were so upset. It was almost like a wave of them were like starting to rush. And luckily that stage was high because otherwise it would have been just, I don't know what. But they were mad that they had made us stop. But like in the end, the police backed off because they saw the danger of what could have happened. They don't want these Americans getting messed up in the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure if it was a Chilean band, it probably would have gone down really ugly, unfortunately.
So you guys were allowed to continue on with the show then after that?
And the crazy thing was we counted off the same song, like started over. I've never seen that before. We started over, like counted off again. We were already 10 minutes into the song. And it was like, okay, we're starting over. And the police left and the students cheered. And all the next day they were like, P-Funk was amazing. They stood up to the police. I'm like, no, y'all stood up to the police. We didn't have nothing to do. We were scared out of our minds.
Yeah.
Okay? We were peeing our pants. Okay. And like, there's like this shot of me on CNN the next day from the side. And I got the gun in me and it's like my profile, you know, I'm at the keyboard and I'm just like, totally just like what
is going on? Yeah. Shit, man.
That was a memorable time for sure.
Gosh.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, you've probably been in so many different situations and stuff like that. I mean, I've had the privilege to see you guys in concert, chill with you guys, you know. I think we were at the Greek Theater in California one time when I chilled with you, that one concert you guys came and played at. And then you were recently in Manchester, New Hampshire, man, with your other band, Secret Army. So you tell me about the other band really quick. So and where people can find you and all that stuff.
Yeah. So Secret Army is my trio. It's like a power trio, if you will, keys, bass, drums. And it's basically made up of the rhythm section of P-Funk. Myself, the drummer, and the bass player. And when we're off the road from George and able to tour, we play as much as we can. And we've played internationally as well. We play a really big following in Australia. Actually, that poster right there where I'm licking the synthesizer is from us. It's from our last show in Australia. And we play all over the place. We play a lot in New England. We play a lot in the States. And yeah, I've got 8 albums. You can get it anywhere music is downloaded, you know, Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. And you know, catch us in your part of town once bands start playing again, you know.
Yeah, look him up. Google Danny Bedrosian. Amazing person. I mean, all over the world, man. Every time I talk to you, it just brings back great memories how it all kind of started in a little basement in a little town.
Yeah.
You know, man, we got into some good trouble together, you know.
Oh,
yeah. And basically just got in more trouble together and just grew up in good success.
Those are usually the people that become successful, the ones that you can't name.
Yeah, totally, man. Totally. Yeah. Oh, man. You got any other stories you want to share with us?
Oh, God.
When we were kids? Anything else crazy that you can remember?
Let me think. Jeez.
Danny had a quarry in his woods. I would go over his house all the time and swim in the back of his woods in this quarry.
That'd be sweet.
Oh, yeah, there was a quarry. Yeah.
It was scary. People were scared of it, though.
I never swam in there my whole life.
Yeah, people were really scared, but I'd jump in there.
Yeah, you did. I wouldn't.
Well, I mean, it's a sad story because a kid drowned in the.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
a rock quarry that was like turned into a man-made body of water.
Yeah, it was cool.
Like cut there to get to like the little corner store or whatever.
Yeah.
cut through there, walk through there. Yeah, Nick, let's go to the quarry. I'd be like, oh, I don't wanna.
did we work on Were you with me when we did the haunted hayride for this?
No.
So we were in high school, I think. Oh, I thought you were part of that. No. So I was like this weird Texas Chainsaw Massacre dude, but I always took it up a level. So I'm like, all right, when the hayride comes around in the woods, I climbed up in a tree, and I'd have this girl start running, towards the hayride of kids, and she'd be screaming and crying and stuff. And what I would do is I'd just wait because they wouldn't see me. And then as it got closer, she'd be like, seriously, there's a chainsaw after me. And I jump out of the tree with the real chainsaw, but I took the chain off it. And I'd be like, rah! And I'd come like chasing at them and trying to slice up the car and stuff. Kids would start crying. Good times, man.
He was a jokester. He was funny. I remember laughing. Like, okay, I do remember another story. You remember Mr. Costa's science class?
Yeah.
We used to get in so much trouble in there, and just for laughing, it was just stupid jokes. And Nick would do the fire marshal Bill thing. Let me tell you. And be like, and kids be laughing. We get in so much trouble. We get in so much trouble for just being goof offs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was that stupid kid that I would go. They knew I would just, I'd like to have fun and stuff, and I knew how to push the button. So I was so hyper. I just need to be creatively. I needed an outlet, right? So eventually they'd be so mad at us. So I'd eventually be like, all right, they're gonna be mad at us. Then I'll be mad back in my own way. So I'd raise my hand and I'd be like, what is it? What do you want now? I'd be like, I don't know what this word says in this book. Everybody be reading in class, And do you remember this? Science class?
No.
She come over. Oh, all right. So she come over and she'd be like, I'm not saying that word. I'm like, but I don't know what this word says. She's like, I'm not saying A. It'd just be the word A.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be that stupid kid. She'd be like, you have a detention today. I go, just one detention? She'd be like, fine, another one. I go, another? One out a week. She'd be like, a month. I'd be sitting out there every day.
It's like Breakfast Club.
I was that kid. I swear I was like, but I was, I knew what I was doing. I was a good kid at heart, but I just was bored, man. I need a creative outlet. But what I would do in detention and whatnot, and standing outside of the class, I would just write lyrics. That's all I would do. Mm-hmm. Write lyrics, and then we'd get together and just start laying tracks down, man. That's all we did.
Yep. That's right. Yep.
Damn. Rebels without a cause.
Right.
We put the Rough and Riders. Hey, who is your favorite artist you got to play with? Or you I know you just worked with Kendrick Lamar, right? Yeah, on his album.
Yeah, he did a song with us. Oh God, we just did a whole tour with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I did some recordings with Chavo from System of a Down. It's one of my favorite bands.
Damn.
I really love them. And
yeah.
He's a good friend of mine, and we got to do some cool stuff together. And Anderson .Paak, who's like a up and coming. I mean, he's a big deal. Rapper, drummer, singer. He just did some stuff with us on this new Trolls soundtrack. I just did a song on for the Trolls World Tour, the new Trolls movie, the kids movie.
That's awesome.
And Mary J. Blige too, and Justin Timberlake, and I got to play all the keyboards on it. That was really cool. It was cool working with Public Enemy. I worked with Chuck D and Flavor Flav on several occasions.
Damn.
Very cool.
Like I said, Ice Cube before. Snoop Dogg. We did the 25th anniversary of BET with Snoop Dogg.
Did he smoke you out though?
He smoked. We were all smoking. I remember Earth, Wind, and Fire called security on us for smoking. And it was like the Funkadelic Earth, Wind, and Fire rivalry. But it's like the Funkadelics are all smoking weed, and Earth, Wind, and Fire is like, get security. But since then we've become closer, though. It's become really cool. But that was like
damn.
Time ago. It was like 18 years ago or something.
I was traumatized by Earth, Wind, and Fire because my dad would play it in the car ride to school every day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Kanye West called the cops on us for smoking weed.
Really?
What? No.
Oh, I figured that though.
Yeah. He called the cops on us for smoking weed in the dressing room.
What an asshole!
Fucking square.
What a fucking asshole!
It was a really long time ago. And he also had the police arrest a guy in his audience that night for smoking weed. It was really weird.
Yeah, but he's changed. He's changed.
No, he's changed. And then
he's found God now. You know,
it was a long time ago. This was a long, long time ago. Actually, he was opening for us. To show you how long ago it was, we shared the keyboard rig with his keyboard player. His keyboard player was John Legend. That's how long.
Wow, man. Yeah.
And me and John Legend hung out that day, and we were like talking shop and stuff like that. And this was way before he was a solo artist.
Sure.
God, I mean, really.
What's a wild story though? Like walking into like green room or something, something weird that happens. Because we were talking to my buddy, you know, Messinian. We were just talking to Messinian, and he was telling us some crazy stories when he was on tour with David Bowie. How Messinian was just playing basketball, and David Bowie rolls up in a limousine. He walks out, and he just throws like something with the basketball. He's like, "What are you guys doing playing basketball here?"
He pulled like up right on the damn court, like right in the middle of the court. Like, here comes this limo.
And Messinian was like, "What the fuck?" Like he's like, "I would have been pissed and stuff," but David Bowie gets out and he's just like, you know, and he's just like, "But it was David Bowie."
Yeah.
What do you do?
That's how Prince scared me. Like Prince was like standing right behind me one time. We were playing this show in Atlanta.
Shit.
And I turned around. I was like, "Ah!" And it was like, "Oh," you know what I mean? Like, it was just like it was right up on me, like right behind me, like right here. And I was just so. And it's like my only interaction with Prince is me going, "Ah!" You know what I mean?
That's something. That's something.
But it's Prince. But it's Prince, man.
Oh God! I mean, there's a lot of kind of funny situations. God, what can I? Johnny on the spot. I don't really. Let me think.
You're trying to be too nice too. I know how your brain's working.
I'm trying to be kind of nice, because I could really rake some cats under the coal.
Yeah. No, we don't need to do that. I'm just curious about some crazy situation.
Well, I tell you one deep thing was when we were playing on this tour around the Midwest, and it was during the presidential campaign between W and John Kerry.
Oh yeah.
And it just seemed like every night we were in the same city where they were campaigning, and like shows were getting pulled, and like there were curfews being set, and like everything was like messing up our shows. And like one city we had to get, they told us to leave early because the president was coming in to speak, and Schwarzenegger came in to speak at this one venue, so they canceled our show. And so, like, we were, like, starting to get really pissed off about it. And I think they were starting to be like, why the hell is this one band, like, in every city that we need to be? So we were in Madison, Wisconsin at a old pancake house. And most of the band in there just sitting down. The guy comes up. I think it's the owner. I thought it was the owner. He's like, "How you guys doing?" He sits down with us. You know how, like, the owner of the restaurant sometimes does that?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? We're like, "Hey," asked us what band we were in. Then he's like, asking us each of our names. We're like, "Oh, this guy really wants to know a lot about us." It's like, he really cares about his customers. And I was like, "Well, the food is amazing." He's like, yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm like, "Oh, you're not the owner?" He's like, "No." And then he looked at us funny. And he walked out, got in the car, put his sign. I was like, "Oh, it's Secret Service." And Secret Service followed us the rest of that tour.
Holy shit.
The whole rest of the tour, they followed us. Billings, Montana, Columbus, Ohio, Bloomington, Indiana, and Madison, Wisconsin, like all these places.
Man.
Okay, I got another one. Now,
that's crazy, though. That's like NWA back in the day, you know? When they that's like, nuts, man.
Yeah, it was weird. That was like 05, something like that. 04, something. Another one I remember, and I remember this just because I was wearing the T-shirt from the show earlier. There was a festival we played out in Missouri called Schwagstock. And it was like this crazy hippie fest. Also notable because it's the longest show I've ever played with Mr. Clinton.
Oh, wow.
And it was 7 hours and 45 minutes.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
7 hours.
And that was back in the day when we would play like 4 or 5 hour shows on a regular.
Jesus.
Like in the 90s and in the early 2000s, the band played 4 or 5 hours every night, no matter what. And it became like our reputation that we were known to play like 4 or 5 hours. today, it's not because the guys are getting old that we don't do it. It's mostly because the human attention span, due to social media, YouTube, and Spotify, just the way that's like, it's very much like a 2-minute market now, you know? So like nobody can deal with no 4 or 5 hour show no more, not even a 20-year-old. So like now our average is like 2 to 3, which is still longer than most bands play.
Absolutely, yeah.
Much longer than most bands play. Most bands play 90 minutes.
I was just going to say, yeah, they're like an hour and a half done.
If they have enough songs,
right?
You know, some like the newer acts, they do 45, you know? So anyway, we played this festival, and I told this on Tales from the Tour Bus. We did that Tales from the Tour Bus show, and my interview got cut. I was so upset about it because I wanted to be a cartoon, you know? I was like, I had my big-ass beard. I thought it'd be a great cartoon, you know? And everybody was like, what kind of stories should we tell? And we all watched the season before was all about, well, like you guys, Waylon Jennings and all these cats, dude, out of their fucking minds. These dudes are shooting people and biting their ears off and doing all kinds of crazy shit. So I'm trying to think of like some crazy ass stories, you know. But I think in the end, most of the stories I told were either too X-rated or too politically controversial, because the stories they ended up using were like, they were R-rated and cute.
Yeah.
But they weren't like, whoa. I was trying to go like, I mean, I wasn't doing the deepest stories, but I was doing like writing kind of deep stories, you know? So this is one of the ones I told. We were at this festival in Missouri, and it's the end of the show. We're playing Atomic Dog, and Sir Knows, he comes out with this big-ass piñata that one of the people who run the festival, I mean, it was huge. The biggest piñata I've ever seen in my life. It was like as big as this piano. It was huge.
Yeah.
And he hands me this like Civil War era rifle. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm playing, right? And this is when I used to be like up on the side, like what they call downstage left. So it's like the front, but like up on the left on the side. And so everybody can see me. I got this damn rifle. I'm supposed to be playing, you know what I mean? It's like we're vamping. He holds the thing. He's got the thing up. There's two people hold it. So I get the stupid rifle. I take it from the whatever. I hit it, right? And it just kind of goes up and goes back, you know. And everybody's like, "Ooh!" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right." So then I hit it again. It doesn't do nothing. I'm like, they're all like, "Ooh!" You know, nobody's making fun of me. So then I turned it around and I hit it with like the gun side. It was a sharp, like not sharper, but it has more edges and it's the metal side. And I whacked that motherfucker so hard, and it exploded.
Oh,
uppers,
man.
Downers, laughers, screamers, pills, powders, baggies. And we're just all like, I mean, this was a really crazy festival. It was like when we got there was people being airlifted for heroin overdoses.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Just drugs everywhere. They just went into the audience, all over the floor, all over the band. We thought it was filled with candy. We didn't think it was filled. I mean, it's
right.
What the hell's in this fucking thing? It's just drugs. It's just everywhere, and it's not just any one kind. It's just like, what the hell are these people out doing in the woods? And you know, we're playing the song. And like playing, you know, like, and it's like it's already exploded everywhere. It's everywhere. And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm grabbing. But that was the kind of crazy stuff. Yeah, they didn't put that on Tales from the Tour Bus. I bet they did. It would have been a good story. I don't know. I was trying to come up with good stories from 50 days. You know.
Well, it's on the G Crew now.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Story accepted, man. So.
Nice.
Dude, man, I really appreciate you coming on and talking with us and stopping down for a little bit in this hectic life we're living. Really quick, can you just take us out on like a song, something fun on the keyboard, bringing it back old school or something?
What do you want to hear?
Whatever you got, just bring it up. Bring it up like we used to. Okay. I don't know, something fun, something funky, something hip. I don't know, whatever you can think of again that will kind of bring us back to the 90s. 90s with like the era we're living in, because music has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, guys? Like,
Johnny,
Josh, Chad, we were all
for sure
hip hop and rock and heavy metal, rap, whatever it is, classical, everything. Even Bobby Mackey, we were talking to, says country has changed. Country's not even country. I'm country.
Yeah.
It's wild, man, how it's been.
I can do something here for you.
Yeah, just slide the mic over there so we can hear the keys. But yeah, man, appreciate it. And thank you again, Danny, for coming on, man.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, the time has flown by. I don't even know it's been this long we've been talking, but
1 hour 40 minutes. So.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I just noticed that we could seriously keep talking forever.
Oh my God! Yes, definitely.
All right, buddy.
Okay? Everything's on.
Yeah, bring us home. Yeah. Bring us home.
Into my pants, something about the music got into my pants. She turns me on and I and all about. Never missing a beat. Yeah, boy, was it neat. Yeah, not just needy, sheep's so needy when she did the freak. Never missing a beat, yeah. Boy, was it neat, yeah. Not just needy, she was so needy when she did the freak with me. It didn't twerk, now. She wasn't funky no more. Not just needy, she was totally needy when she did the freak with me. She turned me on.
Dude, yes.
Awesome, man.
Yeah. Love it.
This is awesome.
Freaking rock, Danny. You rock, buddy. I had to flip the hood up. It was taking it back. Oh, man. Thank you so much, Danny. We love you, buddy.
Oh, love you guys. Much appreciated.
Come back on again.
I would love to. I would love to come back.
You're part of the G crew now. Okay. We're in the G wagon, riding.
So does the G crew get a lifetime membership to the mothership?
Yes.
Yes.
Lifetime membership to the mothership.
Yes.
I like that.
Good, because this Earth is about to not be here anymore. So we better board this mothership.
Plan, right?
Time to fucking bounce.
Board this mothership. All right, everybody, have a good night. G crew, and we are boarding the mothership right now, blasting off beyond the universe, beyond the infinity stars, beyond the galactica that's waiting for us, beyond the horizon of the other dimension.